Thank you, Thistle, and thank you everybody for coming, and thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this prestigious panel of fellow professionals. I'm really excited to be back here at the Public Health School and to share a little bit about what drew me to public health in the very beginning and how I got to the place that I am today as a scientist at the Guttmacher Institute. So my early childhood and much of my time growing up was shaped very much by my parents' passion for really trying to understand a little bit about different cultures and to immerse themselves in communities where people that they were interacting with were different from them. And this very much was instilled in me as well, which was fed by them bringing us to Nepal when I was 5, and we lived there for several months when they were training Peace Corps volunteers because they were returning, having been spent many years there themselves. And so also through my childhood, I was kind of driven by a passion for getting involved in science and space. And this was so much the case that I was absolutely dead set on going to college where Carl Sagan taught astronomy, and I pursued bioengineering actually because I wanted to work for NASA and I was going to look for life on other planets, and that's what I was going to do. But I really felt as I was sitting in classrooms with my engineering colleagues, and then again, when I worked at a biotech company after college for a few years, I felt like there was something missing. I didn't feel a shared common purpose. I didn't feel like a driving, passionate, common goal that we were all working towards. And I felt this both in undergrad and at the biotech company. And so what I needed to do was regroup and kind of revisit times in my life where I had felt most invigorated, most energized, and I wanted to fuse those memories that I had with some of the core values that were instilled in me by my parents and by how I was raised. And one of those big values was the importance of really stepping back and putting yourself in other people's shoes, particularly the shoes of folks who didn't have the power or the privilege or the fortune to be standing in the shoes that you happened to be standing in, basically because of your luck. And so when I stepped back and reflected on kind of the fusing of those values and those memories that I had, I pretty quickly came to the idea that I really actually wanted my own worldview and my personal value system to direct my career trajectory, actually then, rather than keep it separate. And that actually pretty quickly led me to public health. And so when I speak for work, this is a different format than how I speak normally. I usually try to orient my talks around themes. And so the two themes that I want to orient around that I've just started to kick off are the themes of people and passion. And I'm going to keep kind of coming back to those throughout my talk today. So when I came, I knew that I wanted to do public health. And so I landed here at the Graduate School of Public Health, and I really quickly during my master's program, I realized that I wanted to focus specifically in on sexual reproductive health issues. And that was really informed by my experience. I had a GSR over at Student Health Services. I was the sexual health educator that got to go around campus. And I worked at Planned Parenthood as an options counselor for many years. And it was the people that I met in these positions, and also the people that I met here in BCHS and beyond, that really helped me to start on my path of my career trajectory and know that I wanted to merge that passion for women's health with the idea that I wanted to surround myself with people that I looked up to and that I respected and that I wanted to really emulate. And so what I did is I extensively networked here in Pittsburgh in the women's health and the family planning community. And I was fortunate enough in that networking to be invited to attend my first academic conference. And it was at that conference, this is a picture from that conference, the North American Forum of Family Planning. It's a very niche conference to our field, but it's actually still one of my go-to conferences that I go to every year. And it was at that conference that I first actually had a taste of the types of topics and the issues that I could really dig into. And it was at that conference that I actually met a lot of the people that today I call my colleagues and my collaborators and my friends. And I am now very lucky to be a researcher among that community of people that I first met way back when. This is actually in 2006. So following my doctoral work here at the Public Health School, I was lucky enough to secure a postdoc. And that's the postdoc that Thistle mentioned, and it was really kind of right in my wheelhouse. It was called the Charlotte Ellertson Postdoctoral Fellowship for Social Science in Abortion and Reproductive Health, which was a real mouthful, but what it did is it provided 2 years of funding for fellows to pursue a research topic of their choice that had to do with abortion, and I chose to be located in a non-academic setting, and that was a very intentional choice on my part. So I chose to be at the Guttmacher Institute in New York City. And during those 2 years, I basically immersed myself in the field. I tried to network as much as possible and meet all the researchers whose papers I was reading, and I tried to learn all that I could about abortion and family planning research. And I really basically discovered that I had hit the field that I wanted to be in, and it really perfectly did merge those passions with the community of people that I wanted to call myself a member of. So my time as a fellow at Guttmacher really smoothly segued into a full-time scientist position there, and I was very fortunate that that happened for me. Guttmacher itself is a nonprofit research and policy institute, and we have 3 arms. We have research, policy, and public education. And these divisions work together, and we collaborate to conduct rigorous research to inform policy and programmatic change around sexual reproductive health issues. And so early on in my time as a full-time staffer at Guttmacher, I was fortunate to go down to DC and spend time with my policy colleagues. This was in the fall of 2010 when they were putting the final tweaks on the Affordable Care Act. And you might remember there was an amendment introduced called the Stupak-Pitts Amendment that was about how abortion would or would not be funded under the ACA. And there were a lot of rallies and there were a lot of protests, and this is a picture of one of them, that's Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut, held on the Hill, and I got to participate in a lot of those. And it was very inspiring to see how people were really trying to use evidence to sway the debate and to really show how the amendment itself was really harmful to women's health. And I was especially excited because they were using Guttmacher data about how people pay for their abortions to really influence the debate. And so I could see that there was a way that policy and research could really work in sync to influence and really have key public health impacts. So I've now been at Guttmacher for 10 years now. I'm a principal research scientist, and in this capacity, I lead several simultaneous research studies. I lead our contraceptive work on the domestic side, and so what that means is all of the portfolio of work that we do that aims to understand how and why individuals use contraceptive methods or services, and why they may not use those things. And we really try to understand issues as they relate to issues about access as they relate to these outcomes, because this is a big driver, and that's what we've discovered. At Guttmacher, we adopt a team-based collaborative model towards doing research. And so what that looks like is that we have scientists with doctoral degrees, we have mid-level associates with master's degrees, and we have research assistants with undergraduate degrees, all working together to inform the research process. So on any given day, I might be sitting down with my colleagues to brainstorm about a new research idea to submit as a proposal to a funder. I might be sitting with my research team to talk through a plan to do a pilot study for our survey instrument in a local family planning clinic. I might be doing a mock interview training, which is what I'm doing here. I might be doing a retreat with the research division to figure out our internal processes and how we can improve them. That's what we're doing over there. I might be sitting and trying to brainstorm about ways that we can improve overall internal processes for Guttmacher Institute, and that's what we're doing there. I might be running like regression models and data to look at contraceptive use, or I might be writing or revising a paper, or I might be doing an interview with a reporter about some of the findings from a paper that we've published. And that's a social media image that our communications division pushes out when we have new findings coming out. So this is a paper that was published a few months ago, and the image that went with it. I also travel a good amount for my job. So I travel for data collection purposes, for especially qualitative work that we do. I travel to present research at conferences. I travel to meet with funders to talk through some new work that we might want to try to get funded. And then I also travel for service to the field to serve on boards and other things like that. And now I'm actually traveling a little bit more because my family just moved back to Pittsburgh in August. And so I travel back to New York City to go to the office for about a week a month these days. So a common joke that we have at Guttmacher is that once you are hired as a senior staffer, you basically become a lifer. But there's really something to that. I feel extremely fortunate to be at an organization that really the leadership has a lot of vision, and the people that I work with have a shared passion, and we have these shared goals that we work towards together. As a researcher, I'm also very, very fortunate to work in a place that has a development division where we have folks who are paid to tirelessly work to raise money so that we can do the research that we want to do, and our jobs are not contingent on proposals being funded. And I absolutely acknowledge that this is a very rare model in our field, and that I'm very fortunate to be in that position. So. One really kind of neat aspect that I think is neat about being a researcher at Guttmacher is that we place a great deal of emphasis on the dissemination of work and our findings to a broad range of stakeholders. And so we don't really do research for research's sake. We really try to do research that is informed both by what's going on in the environment and that will then inform some sort of policy or practice change. So very concretely what that looks like is that our communications division works very hard to make sure that Guttmacher experts who are in research or policy have the skills and the training to be able to communicate the findings in a way that people who don't have research training can really understand. And so this is a picture of me at one of the media trainings. And I can tell you that media training is actually, it can be very intimidating, it can be very scary, but it is extremely valuable, and it's a way that we have really found to be successful for really being able to push out our findings so that a broad range of stakeholders can hear about them and can understand them. So I just want to close by kind of circling back to those two themes that I mentioned of people and passion, and the importance of having those two things for me in my career has been, it's been really important. I feel like I've landed in a place where I've merged those two things pretty seamlessly. And we work towards this shared common purpose, and we have these common passions, and I have found that I've been extremely lucky to have been there. But we also really like to have fun, so I wanted to end on this picture, and if there's nothing else that you take away from this talk, I just want to say, find a job that you really like the people that you work with and that you can have fun with, because I think for me that's been really important. So this is me on Halloween back in 2008, and I'm dressed up as a sexual reproductive health policy. Does anyone know what it is? Global gag rule, that's right. All right, so I wanted to end on that. Thank you.